So I found that the bigger battery capacity has been the difference between having to charge this thing when it's inconvenient, when I don't want to, and being able to choose to charge it when it makes the most sense in my routine. Hey, it's Chris. Is the Apple Watch Ultra worth the hype? Stick around, I'm gonna share my in-depth experience and help you decide whether or not you've been missing out. Even though the Apple Watch Ultra has been marketed as the ultimate watch for people who love the outdoors, I've found that the larger display, much improved battery life, and more rugged, durable design, those three things, along with one huge factor, which I'm gonna get to in just a minute, those are the things that compelled me to buy this in the first place and have continued to make this thing really interesting in the meantime. The larger display has made it much easier to interact with small buttons, even though even with this bigger screen, there's still times when I end up tapping on the wrong complication. And then the improved battery life, as somebody who can actually tolerate sleeping with the Ultra on, this thing's almost never off my wrist. So I found that the bigger battery capacity has been the difference between having to charge this thing when it's inconvenient, when I don't want to, and being able to choose to charge it when it makes the most sense in my routine. And then with the more durable, rugged design, I've still managed to etch some scratches into the body. So when I'm working out, this thing goes to the home gym with me, it's knocking into equipment all the time, but I'd still definitely say it's holding up much better than my previous Apple Watches. And the screen itself is immaculate, no scratches there, and that's the thing in the past that has really driven me nuts. You know, you roll your finger over and you kind of catch your fingernail in that groove from that scratch, and it just ruins the whole experience. This thing's so tough, hasn't been a problem. As far as Apple Watches go, is this thing enormous? Well, yeah, it's a thickie. Personally, I don't feel like it's too heavy or cumbersome. I like the heft. It feels and looks very substantial. And I'm also still really enjoying the Sandmark titanium band that I reviewed a while back for the Ultra. You might remember it from my newsletter if you're subscribed there. I like to discover and share things with my newsletter subscribers first, but my Ultra definitely has several unused features that I never cared about in the first place and continue not to care about or use. Things like better GPS or working in extremely cold temperatures, crazy water resistance, the siren, the depth gauge, the compass, the dive computer. Basically half the marketed features that make the Ultra, I don't even care about. They're superfluous to my everyday life. But one of the reasons that I bought this was because I wanted to start using my iPhone less. When I went places, I wanted to bring it with me less. When I was at home, I wanted to keep it on the charger more, just to reclaim a lot of my actual life and be less immersed in social media and news and gaming and other time wasters. But as you can see here, this is an LTE model, so I got the cell connection. So with this, what I have is a minimum viable connection to the outside world via phone calls and messages, music, podcasts, but without all the distractions. So basically, using the Apple Watch without an iPhone has been a major focus hack for me. And then thanks to the bigger screen and bigger battery in particular, what it feels like is the best non-iPhone minimally connected experience, which I've come to really, really value. In fact, it's just one of many focus strategies that I employ throughout the day. I've got a whole course on it, Learning to Be Productive. Check it out. It's linked up down below. Now, the big question here is, was this a mistake to buy? Was it overkill? Well, there's a lot of exclusive features here that I get very little use out of or use very intermittently as a non-mountaineer sort of person who just has everyday work life adventures. Things like that exclusive watch face with the night shift that looks cool, but it's not so cool that I'm gonna use it and pick it over another watch face that I actually find more interesting. Because in reality, that feature's not all that useful to me as someone who doesn't do like astrophotography. And then there's the action button, which as cool as it sounded when I first heard about it, is something else that I basically never use, unless it's on accident. Although I guess I would say I use it maybe once a month, maybe to turn on the flashlight when I'm roaming around in the dark basement or something at night. But yes, the action button, one of the big features for the Ultra, has more or less turned out to be not very crucial for me. Now that dual speaker triple mic setup, along with the brighter display, are things that I'm sure I feel the effects of and notice and sort of subconsciously appreciate because they do concretely make the experience better. It's just that I don't notice it in the process, in the moment. Most of the time when I'm taking a phone call, for instance, I'm using AirPods, so I'm not really paying attention to something like the speaker, for instance. And then with that brighter display, if I'm outside where that would be really handy, I'm just checking the screen. I'm not thinking to myself, oh, I can really read this better. You know, I check it and I move on. So subconscious, nice, but I don't really pay attention. So was it worth it? Well, for me, the larger display, the improved battery, this extra durable design, well, those three things all on their own have been well worth it for me to say, yeah, I'm satisfied with the Ultra. Didn't feel like a mistake to spend this much money. But there's one other thing, kind of this huge factor in my head that really pushes it over the top. And that's just the unique look. I never see any other Apple Watch Ultras out in the wild, which I love. I saw somebody who had a case that made it look like they had an Apple Watch Ultra, and I asked them about it. How do you like the Ultra? And they're like, oh no, this is just a case. So everybody likes the look, and they want their Apple Watch to look like the Ultra, but very few Ultras actually are encountered out there in the real world. So personally, I feel like that's great. It's nice to have something that's a little more unique because regular Apple Watches are everywhere. So who should buy this? Who should pass? And should anybody be worried about the next Apple Watch Ultra that's coming up and maybe hold off until then? Whoever you are, whatever you do, I would say buy the Apple Watch Ultra if you want a more unique and durable Apple Watch design that's gonna stand out on your wrist, that's gonna stand up better to everyday wear and tear. I would say go ahead and buy it if you wanna see less of that 10% low battery message showing up, and also if you wanna have an easier time poking at the small stuff that you see on the screen. These are things that even the non-mountaineer, the non-diver can enjoy, get a lot of use out of. They're things that make the actual Apple Watch experience, no matter what the Apple Watch is, just that much better. But then again, if you are into extreme outdoor stuff, then the better GPS and the water resistance, siren, compass, dive computer, etc., all of that stuff's just gonna be icing on the cake. And if you're looking for something that does offer some of that rugged outdoorsy stuff, and you wanna keep it in the Apple ecosystem, you don't wanna look at Fitbit or Garmin or other competitors because you like that integration with other Apple devices, there's just no other peer to the Apple Watch Ultra. Then again, if there was nothing that I just mentioned that would make you want to spend $800, then steer clear. The Apple Watch Ultra is not for you, and for you, it would feel like a mistake. So I would say don't buy this for the action button or for the exclusive watch face. You're probably not gonna notice the brighter display or the better mic or speaker setup all that much. And then another reason why you might not wanna buy right now is because you're curious, what's the Apple Watch Ultra 2 gonna look like? This is the original that I've been talking about here. And there is something to be said about not being a guinea pig and getting in on the first version of something where all the kinks and bugs get all worked out. The rumors for the Apple Watch Ultra 2 are pretty sparse at this point. There's some talk about it maybe being a little bit lighter, maybe potentially having a bit better battery, the possibility that it might use some 3D printed parts, which probably isn't gonna have anything to do with the actual user experience. At this point, no one knows the price, no one knows the date, although it's been speculated that it could come as early as late 2023. But honestly, if those things were the new features, just slight improvements and upgrades, I wouldn't even wait. I wouldn't hold off for that because that's basically just upgrades to all the stuff that I already said was already really great right now. You know what else is really great? Custom wallpapers. Check out the custom wallpaper store if you want to spice things up on all your devices. If you want to know why the newsletter has one of the highest open rates in the industry, I'm not gonna tell you, gotta check it out. Get subscribed, it's linked up. Check out the course. It will make you more productive, can boost your income, just kind of give you less stress. That's linked up down below too. And I'll catch you in the next video. Later.